You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Can you close the studio door, please?
Slam.
Got to make him laugh, so I'm going to snort. Hey, guys, I assume you know what you've tuned into because you had to read the title on the message or the notification or the podcast screen. But, hey, welcome to March 1st on the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the engineer, as in not audio engineer. I will not claim that. That belongs to the guy across me in the green T-shirt with the Jeep on it. Yes. And I'm a civil engineer and a mechanical minor, and play with Jeeps like toys. And I guess you guys called it Legos. For me, it was the old erector set stuff. But anyway, I'm the general Jeep tech guy.
And I am Scott. I'm the slapstick parts guy sitting here trying to remember if it was Patrick that said, by the way, Scott, you guys are skipping the month of March because you said your next show is out on April 1st. Well, guess what? April Fool's on you because it's March 1st. So I am not the Jeep technical tech guy. I am the guy who gets by with duct tape, zip tie, a wing, and a prayer. And while we will share what works for us as well as what didn't, remember, it's always up to you to do your research, read the instructions, and please
follow them.
I got that right, and I closed my eyes during the entire time.
You did. I'm impressed.
Yay. Hold on, I get one more for that. All right. Slam. I got to make sure they got through. They came through like zombies, you know.
Hey, guys, I want to start off this show with a little bit of a shout-out to people. We're going to work through a few of them.
Show 136.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, Scott always has to tell you what show number it is.
Yes.
Yeah, although it's on the title, you know.
I know.
Okay. Guys, we're having a better day than we've had in probably a couple of months.
Yes. Yes, we have.
And no alcoholic beverages were required. Caffeine, yes.
Darn, I was hoping it'd go tss. I'm like, I'm cracking up.
Yeah,
a
that's
cold
Diet
Mountain Dew.
So, okay, that could be considered a mind-altering substance. Enough caffeine and sugar in that thing to send you.
No, it's diet, so it has like chemicals and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And yellow number 5 or whatever it is. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. I want to give a shout-out to George for your post on our Facebook comments. Back in February, middle February 18th, he sent me a very interesting note, and it includes a picture of him. He's inside the dash of a Jeep TJ, and he's got a Super Chips scanner plugged in, and it's showing code P0344, camshaft position sensor intermittent, bank 1, sensor 1. And he says, his quote, which is classic, "Did you know if you plug up a TJ tailpipe with snow, it'll throw a weird code and freak out over 200 RPMs? True story."
I wonder if that's what's going on with your Jeep. Did you check it for snow?
Yeah. And you know what, George? Yes, I can believe it, because a plugged exhaust will cause a misfire, and a misfire will cause it to think it's out of position on its cam or crankshaft position. So no, great sleuthing.
Yeah.
I will admit it's a new one on me. I mean, would you back into a snowbank or slide down a hill? I'm curious how you got the TJ tailpipe packed with snow.
Maybe he's got one of them like they're up in the air, like the stacks for the trucks, you know, kind of the semis.
Yeah, but anyway, George, thanks for the picture and the comment. I like it.
That was funny.
It was funny. I read that and snorted quite literally, going, okay. And I guarantee you in Florida, if I have a P0344, I will check that tailpipe for snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sand. Or a potato.
Be right back.
The downside to potatoes is, remember, the exhaust pipe to my Jeep's facing your Jeep. So when I started, it goes, twee.
Hopefully it hits the winch.
Or that roller up front.
No, yeah, I gotta sawzall that thing off. I'll probably gain like an inch in height.
I've never seen a Jeep before that had a steamroller attachment under the front bumper.
It's supposed to be a roller bumper from Hard Rock, and it's got this ginormous metal monstrosity at the front of it, which is just absolutely weird.
So, and now actually I think it's Scott's turn to give a shout out or two.
Yeah, basically what I did is I did a 40K on the Gladiator because I'm going to do some road tripping across the universe. And Nick posted on there, says, looks like what I did last month, picture his TJ. Paul wanted to say he got the dreaded OFA leak yesterday.
And he's talking about that the Dorman replacement is back ordered, and that's for the oil filter assembly. Now, I'm not saying anything, but right now it seemed to be fine. Fortunately, he says he's going to take it to the dealer and get it covered under the extended warranty. So best of luck on that.
Yeah, let us know how it turns out.
Please do. I will tell you that in most cases, when I've talked to Mark up at Jeep Lab here in Tampa, he's not had problems getting that Dorman unit unless it's a recent occurrence. And in truth, he hasn't actually found too much broken plastic. What he's found is a lot of the O-rings have failed.
I think I'm starting with mine.
And you may have to replace the O-rings as a last-ditch attempt if you can't get replacement parts.
Yeah, and also Daniel said, going to love the Coopers, run them on my TJ, best I've had on it. And I will say this. I bought my Coopers for the Gladiator, about 5 of them. I'm only going 35s because I want to be able to fit the spare under the bed. And I know some people say fit 37s, yada, yada, yada. But I jumped on it because there's supposed to be a price increase, and sometimes they're really hard to get. So I just went ahead and pulled the trigger and got them. And, of course, Matt asked me, what lift did I order for the Gladiator? Matt, haven't ordered one yet.
He was planning to order.
But life intersected. So we're going to take a...
But let's keep it in family here. You still do have a lift for the LJ.
Mm-hmm, it's new old stock.
Yeah, it wasn't when you bought it. It was new stock.
It is now March 1st, and guess where the lift still resides?
Yes, but that will change here in the near future.
Very near future, because I'm not moving it.
Well, you are. Well, you're going to move it to this garage so that we can put it on.
And before I forget too much, because I want to get into the story about the Gladiator, but one of the person reached out to you about flooding on the O2 sensors or something like that. I can't remember where that message was at. Was it on one of the shows, or was it on our show email where he mentioned, hey, have you checked the metering on the causing the fuel injector to
Oh, yeah. That was talking about the Jeep that we're still fighting with over at Mark's.
And where would we have that message at? Because I want to make sure I get that right.
I don't know.
While Kevin's looking it up, I'm going to go into my little diatribe here. So yes, I got the Coopers for the Gladiator. I also did a 40K service. And, typical cabin filter, air filter, wiper blades, oil change. I did the differential services and all that. One of the really cool things I did is that because we all know I'm cheap, I went to the local Walmart and got the gear oil. I get the synthetic stuff. And what was really neat is that, the gear oil came in these like squeeze bags, like a Capri Sun. It's a gear rear end Capri Sun bag if you think about it. So as I'm buying, I'm like, I want my bottles. I don't want this stupid squeeze bag. Why are they doing this to me? Manufacturers have got to be out of their stupid mind. So as I'm sitting there trying to find it and did everything else, basically what I found out is that when I went to go do those, I bought the fluid pumps on Amazon and did all that stuff, because it's like 2 pumps is 1 ounce. It takes you 3 days to do it. I just clipped the top of the thing off and I said, you know what? It's a squeeze bag. Shoved it in there. Squirt. That's how long it took to put an entire bottle of gear oil into that differential. And at that point, I went, sold. Sold.
May I make a small comment? And I agree with you. I've used the bag types as well.
Yeah.
There actually is 2 comments to that. Number one, they're still a little bit difficult if you don't use the whole thing up to store.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
So if you are not sure, buy all the bags plus a bottle. That you could fuss with the bottle for a little bit, and then, but if necessary, but if not, you can store back in it.
Yeah.
But 2, inspect the bags. And I speak from personal experience. For any shelf stock damage or the stock person who opened the carton to put it on the shelf nicked the bag, because when you go squeeze, boom, and you take a
face full of gear oil,
75-90 face full of gear oil.
Yeah.
That was not fun.
Well, that's what I did when I bought on the shelf. I gave him a quick squeeze because I'd rather make a mess at Walmart than anything else, to be honest with you. Because, clean up on aisle 2. But it was very interesting. And, the fluid was definitely worn a little bit. That was, again, I haven't really wheeled it. And I got 40,000 miles on it. But, man, that cabin filter, I can tell you what, I had a whole nother dog in that thing.
Of course.
And that's one of the things that was just driving me a little crazy with that. But again, when it comes to messages, Kevin and I do want to point something else out. A couple of people have sent us personal messages on our personal pages. And while that's okay, and we understand you guys wanting to reach out to us and whatnot, we kind of want to steer you guys more to the Facebook page if you're going to send messages, because with everyone's accounts being hacked and, hey, don't accept a friend request from me or don't click on any links. It just protects us and it protects you.
Yep.
So if it's okay, again, try to steer as many messages as you can to the Facebook page, because Kevin and I are busy. A lot of these messages, sometimes we get to them when we can. Sometimes it takes us a little longer to get there. But again, it does us a favor that way. In case if I have a question, I can just say, "Hey, Kevin, check out this guy's question." I don't have to screenshot my message and have him see what I'm looking on Facebook, and then me and him have to have a talk what I'm doing. It kind of keep things, very much.
Let's keep the podcast on the podcast.
Yeah, podcast, because we like that little bit of separation, but.
Right. Anyhow, but yeah, so just keep that in mind, and no offense to anybody out there, but I'm not sharing my phone number. My wife takes a dim view of strange numbers calling me in the middle of the night.
Yes.
So if there's need for contact, we can work through Facebook, and that's fine. And as always, I'll help where I can, but I am not the answer nor a replacement, for a certified technician either. If you're going really into to deep, I'll try and help you be smart to do what you need to do. But having said that, I guess now Scott's over here researching on his phone.
I'm trying to find too where the
you're texting and podcasting.
No. Well, Patrick sent me another message eventually, but no, I'm trying to find the name of the listener who sent you that message about hey, check that fires. We will find it, and I promise you, we will give you the proper shout out. If not,
yeah. Well, and I'm aware that yes, we did check the O2 functions on that Jeep. Just so you understood, during the RPMs, I was monitoring all of the voltages that were coming out of all 4 O2 sensors. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. That needs to be checked, because that tells you a lot of what's happening, at least in each half of the engine. And they were right down the line where I'd expect them to be, with no oddities, no spikes, or no, more importantly, fallouts. So that would be related to a fueling issue or a breakdown. Yeah. So even though we can't remember your name, we are sorry. We'll see if we can find it.
Yeah.
We do appreciate it.
Yeah, but by all means, send us a message. We would like having that feedback.
So second thing that we want to talk about. First, I guess I'll start with the fact that I hope those of you who are listening who had went to Jeeping with Judd enjoyed yourselves. It looked like it was pretty good. I didn't hear about any extreme failures this year. Yeah.
No, keep going.
And the videos we saw, we're sorry we didn't make it, but as we mentioned before, that was one of those life things. When you had to be registered, we were occupied with other issues. Mm-hmm. And we hope to make it next year. The other one is up and coming in about another 45 days or so is
Jeep Beach.
Jeep Beach.
Yes.
So if you're in the eastern United States, well, even if you're not in the eastern United States, I don't care if you're in Canada or Alaska, if you can make it down here to come down and play in the sand and the fun and stay out of the ocean.
With your Jeep.
Yeah, with your Jeep. You can swim yourself in there, but Jeeps and salt water tend to dissolve.
See, you're coming up statement about a green TJ.
Yeah, well, you guys, if you've seen me doing my What's He Working On, you've seen me doing the results of a salt-encrusted TJ. Yeah. But it did live. It did live, so that's the good news.
Update to come.
The other thing is our teaser. I want to extend the teaser a little bit more, that we will have a giveaway to give to any listeners who come up and find us during Jeep Beach events. Mm-hmm. We've been invited to come sit at the Gulf Coast Drive Shaft, also locally known as Specialty Drive Shaft, but they'll be under the Gulf Coast Drive Shaft banner at Jeep Beach. They have a booth, and we'll be spending time there, and we will be posting on social media. Mm-hmm. I'll leave that up to Scott. I know it'll at least be Facebook. I don't know whether social medias you're on, because that's my limit is Facebook.
Yeah, I think we're on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. And that little blue bird?
I abandoned that.
No, Twitter. Anyhow, we'll let you know when we're at their booth, but we'll also be walking around, and we have some nice little swag to hand out. Mm-hmm. That's not just ours, but a bunch of the other shops and groups that have supported us and not technically sponsors, because we continue that non-sponsored.
Yep.
But that have supported us or shared with us or worked with us, have decided they're going to throw some swag in with our swag, and we'll have you a little package. Nothing overt, but I will say it will be a one of a kind and will not be reproduced again. And it includes some honorarium to our lost teammates over the past year. So, we hope that we can see you there, because the idea is we want to meet you and put a face to a name, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, keep an update for our on our social media pages, because I will try. We might throw something out there like, hey, if we're not there, come to this booth. We may have something there.
Yeah, we may have somebody acting as an in-between type of thing.
So, but you'd have to go there and you have to ask for it.
Yeah.
They're going to have things behind, because we were, like any good business, we're trying to drive traffic to their booths.
Yeah.
And they're good people.
They're good people. They're not paying us for this. It's just they're letting us plop in their booth and get out of the sun for a few minutes.
Yeah, this bald head right here, if I stand alone, all of a sudden you start smelling pulled pork, and that is very disturbing. Real quickly, though, there is one event coming up before Jeep Beach, and I'm going to actually be volunteering with it. And I think when you talked about it, is the Florida Trail Team Challenge. Now, again, that's something that you have to do. That, and I was supposed to do something, and Kevin, and I apologize, but we had to mention a couple of the people, because what they're doing is as you're doing the Florida Team Challenge, they have to tag in all of the sponsors, and we are one of the sponsors. So they have to tag us in all their social media. So Mark asked us if we would just real quickly just read the very small list real quickly.
Go ahead.
It's the Jeep Lab, On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. Yay, it's us. Gear America Drive Shaft Specialist, or Gulf Coast Drive Shaft. The Bunker Depot, Wild Wolf Forge, High Lift Jacks and Accessories, TerraFlex Suspensions, Red Scorpion Fabworks, Wagon Tech, I think that is, Tread Lightly, good thing to do. Old Florida Off-Road Park, Florida Trail Team Challenge, Stinger Off-Road, Naughty Shades, and Construction Services Incorporated of Tampa. So they are helping keeping the Florida Trail Team
That's
Challenge.
CSI of Tampa.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to be going in and tagging videos and shooting videos if I can, because I am a volunteer, doing the best I can to get that out. So check our Facebook page for videos and pictures on that.
Okay, awesome. And that should be a lot of fun. And unfortunately, it is not an event open to the public due to safety regulations, as Mark has explained to us several times. Volunteers are going to go help judge and manage the competition, but it's really competitors only. And the site is pretty new to them, so they don't want to run the risks of having spectators wander inside of zones where Jeepers are taking off wheels or rolling things or driving blindfolded or all the other things that happen in these events. So it will be videoed, as Scott said, and reported, and we'll give you the whole story on how it goes and who won. But if you need further information, you can go to Jeep Lab's website. That's Mark's at the Jeep Lab, and check out what he's got, or just Florida Trail Team Challenge.
Yeah, they got their own Facebook page. And that's kind of cool. The thing, too, is that the other things are progressing nicely in the world of Kevin and I. We have some projects. I have the Mastercraft seats I still got to install. And
yeah, he hasn't put in the lift kit yet. He hasn't put in the bed rug yet. And that's in the storage. So now he went ahead and bought the Mastercraft seats, and guess where they're waiting? Back in the storage.
Nope.
Okay.
They're at my job. They're in the back parts room, along with my soft top that I still have sitting back there in my basket.
And then you got new tires for the
Gladiator.
And where are they?
Inside the parts room, stacked up. It's bad when your boss goes, "No, they're not going to be here a year. You need to get these installed now." So I contacted Greg at Race Line Wheels and said, "Hey, where do I place my order?"
Yeah, exactly. but you're still waiting now for the wheels to put the tires on to put them onto the Jeep.
And then I got to find a place for my factory takeoffs, all 5. With no lift. When I make a U-turn. I'm just kidding. But at least I'm doing factory wheels and I'm not doing spacers or adapters.
So as you can see, we do have some up-and-coming projects on different Jeeps than my Jeep and the others. But, yeah. Okay, Scott.
That list just keeps on getting longer.
Yes, it does. You keep buying things but not bolting them on.
Not anymore.
It's pretty bad. It didn't necessarily running out of money. It's about running out of space to put stuff.
I think when I go to talk to Mattson at Metal Cloak, he'd be like, no, I'm not selling you another lift till you finish that. How can you have a new lift if you don't finish your meth? Or your meth, Jesus.
You're trying your Pink Floyd Beth. It's meat.
Yes. Sorry, my inner Pasco's showing.
For those of you in other parts of the world, Pasco is a county here that has some problems.
If you've seen Live PD, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
My main export in Pasco is meth, okay? And I'm not joking.
And you don't live there anymore.
I still do.
Well, technically, but you don't live in that part of Pasco. He's giving me this like, really, dude?
Just living in my camper. I'm like, God, I am the antithesis of Breaking Bad.
Can we get back to Jeeps?
Yes, we can. Hi.
Oh, and I did have one other thing I wanted to note, and I'm sorry again, this is one where it flashed across and I saw it and I memorized the comment and forgot to write down the name, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but I received a wonderful email comment from a gentleman who complimented us on staying on Jeep topics and not getting political, religious, or, picking red or blue or any.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say thanks for that. We make it a point to try and stay as close to Jeeps as we can, at least related to Jeeps. I might talk about the Pope because he drives around in an armor-plated Jeep when he goes on tours. But, at least there's a tenuous tie to Jeeps. But no, as far as whether you voted, whatever, that's your call. That's your business, And whether or not you believe in aliens and abductions, that's up to you.
Yeah, this isn't
Call me if they take your Jeep, and I'll come help you get it back. But otherwise,
part out.
So, anywho,
yes.
Should I move into the updates on Baby TJ as it's now become named?
Sure, we can do that.
Oh, okay. Folks, many of you, if you followed me on Facebooks and the little posts on the What's He Working On stuff, you'll know that I ran a whole series in there of a little green, I guess it's called pearl green colored TJ. It was a 97 that I was calling the cheap Jeep. Or the $1,500 Jeep, and the owner, as his wife, has gotten to it, and she now thinks it's so adorable and cute that she's calling it Baby TJ because they have the big Gladiator and the little tiny TJ, and in fact, it's become the darling of specialty drive shafts right now. And in fact, Derek, shout out to you. Derek works there, and Derek wants to drive that as the shop truck now all over. He likes buzzing around the Tampa region, in a little TJ hauling drive shafts for semis. So which is hilarious.
So if you see him, wave.
But if you haven't seen the shots, we the story, we've mentioned parts of it before, so some of it is a repeat. A young man came into one of our friends' shops with a TJ that was not running, and it was an older one, and it had come down from Massachusetts. I don't know if he brought it down or he just bought it from the person, but according to the stickers and registrations, and it looked very nice, but the floor pans had some Flintstone, going, and one spot in the frame was see-through, and long story short, it also wasn't running, and I was asked to come in and I think the quote was, "You want a challenge?"
Duh.
Yeah, sure. Let's see what we got. And there was been to 4 other shops, and I'm convinced that those shops just didn't want to play with it because it wasn't that hard to find. It took me 20 minutes to get the thing fired up, and about another 2 hours of fixing to make it run well, And now it runs fantastic. Like I say, it zips around town. It gets about 16 miles to the gallon, which a Jeep can do on natural 195-inch tall, 195s
on the factory ones.
And then we turned around and started replacing floor pans, just pieces of them, sectioning, rebuilding a few pieces here and there. Had to do a little surgery on the foot of the roll cage because it was the rust had gotten into the foot, and rather than replace the whole foot, I just made up a section and welded the section back in, and we got it all bolted back in, squared up, and then there's some pictures that you'll see on the Facebook page that kind of make you chortle. There's a green laser line up the back end of the Jeep because I set up a survey laser before I cut the frame piece out. And I basically surveyed in the rear axle location, marked the frame and the body and the center of the axle hub so that when we removed the arms on that side with it on a jack safely, and started removing the remnants of the rusted frame hip back there right behind your driver seat, you know.
In between the seat and the spring bucket.
Yeah, spring bucket. And then we put the new one in. We could, it's going to move because you're beating on it, you're grinding on it, you're doing this. And as the most you try, that axle, the spring sits at an angle. For those of you who have TJs, you know what I'm talking about. Those rear springs point backwards.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the axle moved back about 4 inches. And and truthfully, I had braced the rear axle. I forgot about the front axle.
Whoops.
The front wheels roll really well when the rear end can't go anywhere. And so we put a ratchet strap on and we basically sucked everything back in and then used the factory arms through the bolt holes without a nut, just to get it squared up, and then a laser to shoot the exact line again so that all the 3 points from the body to the frame to the axle lined up and tack welded it in. What you don't see in there that was a little bit of a challenge was when we first slid the frame piece in, it would not lay flat.
Right.
In fact, it was rocking back and forth on the, I guess we'll call it the inside curve of where the frame sweeps from the belly pan upwards going towards the spring bucket. And that made me realize that over time and rust, the Jeep had sagged in that area. And so if you can picture the rear driver's side passenger's footwell had gone down.
Right.
All right. And we were like, oh boy, how do we fix that? How do I bend that back in place? Because if I weld that frame piece in, it'll be that way forever.
Right.
And it hit me that I was going to use the weight of the Jeep itself. And I got the position correct as far as the arms and the wheel and the axle, put the frame up, pushed the furthest back point up tight against the frame, which meant the forward part that was up near the belly pan was actually hanging about 3/4 of an inch down from the frame.
Wow.
But I ran a horizontal weld seam, and this is a trick for you guys if you're doing this work. I ran a horizontal weld seam along the bottom edge of the replacement frame part and the existing frame. Mm-hmm. Nothing on the vertical sides, which is where you want to carry most of your strength. But right now I was creating a hinge, for lack of a better thing. Now you want to do this while it's still hot from welding, while it still has a little give in it, and immediately sat a 6-ton bottle jack under that front edge that was hanging 3/4 of an inch down and started jacking it up. And had to jack it up and then bounce the Jeep a little bit. And every time I bounced the Jeep, it settled a little lower. It had probably taken, 20,000 miles to settle. And I'm asking it to move back in position in, a minute and a half of bouncing. Right. Loosened the roll bar that we just put back in at the feet and didn't take the bolts out, just loosened them a little bit because they're slotted holes. And then jacked it up again, let it down, jacked it up a third time. And on the third time, the gap closed.
Nice.
And when it closed, it's like, don't touch anything. Turn the welder up to 99 and start burning steel.
Right.
Exaggeration there, folks. No, I didn't weld it that hot. And at that point, I'm committed. But I have a very tight fit. And lo and behold, when we reset the laser up, all 3 items lined up to within less than a 1/16 of an inch. Went ahead and burned the splice in hot. In fact, I probably overwelded. I probably did 3 passes in the high stress areas, and ER 70S, whatever. I'll look up the wire if anybody wants to know.
Right.
With a regular 75-25 mix on the shielding gases, and did multiple layers and passes, letting it cool in certain areas and moving around to get a good burn. When we fit it back together, I had to put the upper arm in first, lower it, and jack again, and the lower went right in. Lines lined up, put it all back together. The alignment was still dead nuts on. She tracks down the road dead straight.
Nice.
We just did a little touch-up grinding on some of the globular welds, and got a good coat of rust-preventive paint on it, as well as coating the inside. And while it's still a welded up, a repaired frame for that little Jeep, it's fantastic.
Yep.
And it's about 20 times stronger than the rusted, thing that came out. And yes, there's pictures on the Facebook page if you want to go there.
Yeah, and you saved another Jeep from the crusher.
Yep, we saved a Jeep from the crusher. She runs extremely well. Shane went ahead and did new rotors and brake pads up front. We went into scrap bins around at all the different shops. People had junk, and junk is a relative term. When you put in new Flaming River steering shafts, the old shaft becomes junk, even if it's perfectly serviceable. So we did need to replace the collapsible steering shaft because the original shaft that he had, it wasn't so much the shaft was bad, but the U-joints on them were really pretty rattly.
Yeah.
And so we ended up replacing that. Tailgate, you remember, was somebody had backed into something with the Jeep at one point. And so the tailgate was kind of crunched in. Not bad, but one of the shops up there said, what do you need? A TJ tailgate? I got 2 of them up in the shed from people that converted to the flip-down tailgates.
Yeah.
Here. And he was going to give it to him, but Shane didn't want to be. No. So he paid $50 for tailgate. And here is a rust-free, perfect, rhino lined on the inside. Now, granted, it's silver. It will become the pearl green very shortly, but got straight. So his total investment right now, so he's got a 97 6-cylinder TJ automatic. He has we have seam sealed everything, painted it, used the Neuco thermal and acoustic deadening mats and a bed rug. Seat covers, and he's refinished the interior to a satin black finish rather than the tan. The engine itself just got serviced, oil and that kind of stuff, and he's still under $2,000 total, folks. Not in repairs, total.
Yeah.
So he's got a fully functional 97 ready for whatever he wants to go play with. So cheap Jeeps do exist. I had my hands in one for the last 3 weeks. They're a lot of fun because you got a lot less stress over what if I screw it up? What if you screw it up?
Yeah.
I still got more ability to part it out than anything because that was his original attempt. And he's now going to keep that and has decommissioned a couple of their fleet vehicles because you know what? Insurance on a 97 TJ 6-cylinder
is a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper than anything else. So that's been kind of fun. We've been working on that. Helped our friend Bob with the LS swapped YJ, and it has made the next transition. We located him, and this one I still can't believe. We found him a hardtop for a YJ. All glass intact, all the things are intact. All it needed was cleaned, and he painted it, all right, for $250.
Nice.
And so he now has a hardtop on his YJ. And he laughs. It was a little frustrating at first. It made him understand that when you're talking about fiberglass from that far back and a Jeep from that far back, things aren't going to line up right off the bat. No. And it took, as the Brits have a good term for it took a wee bit of fettling, it did. Yeah. So we worked on it and tweaked it and fettled here and fettled there. And no, it's not pornographic. It's just fidgeting with stuff until everything lines up. And then the doors had to be reshimmed and adjusted, which meant the strikes had to be reshimmed and adjusted. But once it's all done, he now has a weather-tight, just in time for the up-and-coming rainy season. And for those of you that say, oh, you live in Florida, you should always run it, open-top Jeep. You got to be here in Florida when you get a 4-inch-per-hour downpour. Yeah. There's nothing in the world short of a hard top that'll keep you dry.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, after you get done with the frame repair, even the doors and everything shut so much nicer in the green Jeep.
They did. It was amazing that after we were done, you walk around and the body lines were all straight again. It's amazing if you bend it back to what the factory intended.
Yeah,
The latches latched, that didn't, bang and pop back open. You can swing it in gently and there goes click and it's closed.
You're done.
And you're done. So it's fun. And I enjoy taking, what people consider trash and bringing it back. Although there is a picture I've gotten, I may post it, I may not, which was the ultimate DIY Jeep reconstruction. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know, Scott. If you can tell me if I can find it quickly, since you
La da dee dee da 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 abracapocus.
well, Scott's always
Focus,
digging up stuff for me too. But,
Yeah, well, that's what I do. I would say this is dead air, but it's podcasting. There's no such thing as dead air. But hey, if you have a question, comment, or concern, please make sure to email us at onthetrailpodcast@gmail.com.
Do you think it's salvageable? Should I put it up on the Facebook page and ask people if they think it's...
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
We're not going to tell you what it is.
No.
You got to go on the Facebook page to see it.
And this was the last salvageable parts, maybe salvageable, maybe not part of the of what Melissa is now calling Baby TJ.
Yeah.
So,
which is actually funny because they have the Gladiator, that's nicely lifted and all kinds of custom work done to it. And Shane was kind of like, I hope she likes driving. Oh, are you kidding? She's some big old smiles driving that thing around.
Yeah,
she loves it.
Yeah. So, but now you had some things you wanted to go off on.
Well, that's one of the. Here's where we're gonna get the hate mail. Unfortunately, we all know I work for a dealership, and that dealership shall remain unnamed to protect the innocent. And yes, that me, yes. But one of the really cool things is we'll just say I had a chance to drive a 392 Wrangler. Okay. And I will say this, that thing's got a lot of power. And
that's not what you told me.
I can't use those words on the radio. It's scary. I think it's way too much power. And I can hear all the collective going, there's no such thing as too much power, Scott. Yeah, there is. Every time I gave that thing the beans, it felt like the front end was going to come off the ground. And I'm just like, nope, this is scary because this is too big of a vehicle to be jockeying around, driving it like a sports car. If you look at how much it costs to insure a Scat Pack Charger right now, because that's a lot of power to be, with great power comes great responsibility. I know that's a cliche, but in my opinion, for the off-road world, unless you're building a rock bouncer, if you're building a rock bouncer and, climbing up hills and, going up mountains and all that, that's purpose-built. For the typical weekend driver and, weekend off-roader, I mean, yeah, the 392 is cool. It some people like that feeling, but I can tell you right now, I have real questions about survivability if you really give it that many beans on the trails, depending on what you're doing, if they're highly technical or not. But if that's your bag, that's your bag. I just think it's too powerful. It's cool. I think it's great. I'm glad Jeep came out with it. But from my own personal opinion, that doesn't work for me. I find the power in the inline 6 that I have on my LJ to be, it needs a little boost. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's good and purpose built for what it's supposed to be, is survivability. Now the power plant and the Gladiator, now being a truck and a pickup truck, a little longer wheelbase, I don't know about a 392, but it definitely could use a V8. I just think that a V8 is a good thing, but I think the 392 is just way too much power. I mean, again, some people put the supercharged Hellcat motors in those, and that's great too. But again, I wonder how many of those get sold after they're built.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But again, the pickup truck, the Gladiator, I could see the standard, 318. Well, again. And if you're listening just now, Kevin has posted the picture. It is up now live, which you're going to probably see before this comes out. And another thing too was,
and it's an update to the original "What's he working on" post of February 10th, where I started showing you hacking out the floor pans and that kind of stuff. And I just put a picture reference. It said, "Hey, fixable or not? Please comment below. I'd like to hear what you guys think." Because these really and truly, and I'll even be so far honest, and I'll say, except for the leaves that kind of got into the picture, the leaves are not part of the Jeep. Most of them fell out of the Jeep, but they're not part of the Jeep. I acknowledge that. The rest of it, though, actually came from this Jeep.
And because I'm kind of incognito when I do drive, I had a little adventure, and I watched someone in a Rubicon 392 drive it, the old joke, drive it like you stole it. And I'm watching this thing weaving in traffic, and I'm doing this going, this thing's going to end up on his roof. So the good news is, if you want a 392 powered Wrangler, probably going to be a lot of market out there for ones with roof damage, because they're probably going to end up on their roof with people not being too smart. And I hope I'm wrong. That's just my personal opinion, because again, a standard, 5.7 V8, good. An LS swap, good.
Let's be honest. You can even take the LS swap too far. Reference Ben's Jeep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, something that on the dyno in third gear is doing 140
Yeah.
in a lifted CJ7. No. But anyhow, that's enough.
But that's what worked for you.
Yeah, whatever works for you. So, yeah, the Facebook post is up, sorry, and I realize it's up before the podcast is going to reach your ears, but it will be today, and I guess we also should reference it. We're sorry we're late on this one. It literally is March the 1st at about 4:38 Eastern time, and we're just recording because life has interceded yet again. Chortle, snuckle, snicker.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Oh, well.
But we're glad you have joined us for this podcast.
I do want to run out to the garage when thou art done for a minute and discuss a new tool purchase I have made.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and tippy-tire onto the garage here 1 second. We will be right back after the words from Patreon. Hey Patreons, it's Scott here to talk to you about our Patreon page, YouTube page, and our Facebook page. And I just said all those things, so check out the links inside the notes, and a big thank you to all our corporate Patreons. And with that, we're going to take it on to Kevin. Kevin, go right ahead.
All right, guys, and I think I mentioned this in passing in one of the earlier shows, but Mark over at the Jeep Lab put me onto this little tool. It's a cheap tool. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a whopping $25 on Amazon. And it's a specialty funnel kit from OEM Tools. It's their part number 87009, and it's a no-spill coolant funnel kit. They call it near universal, and it's a neat system because it's this big funnel, kind of looks like something you'd see on a still pouring whiskey and moonshine in, big. It's probably, 8 or 9 inches in diameter and probably 9 inches tall. But that's not the uniqueness. The uniqueness is a full set of adapters and extensions that go on in place of a radiator cap.
Yes.
And then the piping fits together watertight, and you can pour your coolant in this funnel, building up positive pressure above the height of the radiator. Mm-hmm. And it basically does the same thing as if you pressure filled a radiator without the expensive kit of pressure filling a radiator.
Yep.
You can start the engine with it in there, and it will burble and burp, and you can add more because it's translucent. You can actually see the coolant level going down. And once it gets up to temperature and the vehicle's, obviously not spitting out any more air bubbles, you can shut the vehicle off. And then there's a little T-shaped plunger in the kit that goes in the middle of the funnel, and it closes off the funnel. Mm-hmm. So you can lift up the funnel, spilling next to nothing. Mark just threw a rag around the base for the little bit that was in the pipe that splooshed out, maybe a quarter cup. And
if that,
and then take it over top of the jug of antifreeze, stick it over, and pull the little T-handle up the middle, and blurb, it goes right in. So imagine, if you will, filling an antifreeze, your antifreeze and your radiator, basically without mopping the floor.
We use those all the time at the dealership.
You do? You use these?
Yes, and I can tell you right now, they ain't $24 on that Snap-on truck.
No, they may be the professional quality for $34.95. They're probably more than that in the Snap-on. But they're available on Amazon or anywhere else that OEM Tools are sold. Again, this is one of those things that's so simple. You kind of go, why didn't we have this back when I was working on, 74 Chevys?
Well, a lot of technicians, what they'll do is, because instead of sitting there staring over the thing, waiting for the thermostat to open up and do this, they fill those jugs, then they go over, start wiping down their tools and putting the tools away if that's their last job.
Yep.
And they can monitor this
from a distance. And
if it does start to burble a little more, it's in its own catch basin.
It is. And it's really easy to clean up. And if you are working with an LS swap where you have those steam ports that it burbles back down, this also provides that additional, they call it head pressure, the amount of fluid above the engine to make sure that you get a good fill.
Yep.
That's also a challenge in the 4 liters, folks. They're notorious for building air pockets because of where the pump sits and the thermostat sits kind of down a little bit, and the forward end of the head can build up this air pocket. And the only way you get it out is to let the engine run with the cap off and top it off. This way you don't have to keep doing the top off thing. You just fill it and okay, if you dump almost a quart down in there, quart to a half a gallon of fluid, you can add more, but that's a lot to keep on it. So
Yeah.
neat tool, works exceedingly well, gets my thumb up.
Yeah, and it's relatively cheap. It's one of those ones you don't think about. You set it and forget it. The thing I like, again, it makes the job easier. Mm-hmm. And again, even if it's your first time doing these little tools, it may not be the last time. I mean, if your Jeep group has like a clubhouse where they all do their own mechanical work.
Oh yeah, chip in and get one.
Everyone chip in and get one.
And there are other knockoffs of that. There's by the different Chinesiums and off names, but that's okay. The other thing I'll throw out there is a kit. Now, this isn't cheap, but if you've ever seen them in use, to me, they're a godsend. Now, this is something called Form a Funnel, and its brand is Form a Funnel, and it's a sheet of a malleable material covered in an oil-resistant plastic. And when you get it, it's kind of a trapezoid shape.
If you have the JK with a 3.8, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and what this can do is it can sit under an oil filter, and you bend this and form it to a shape where it will catch oil and direct it around components or over and into a drip pan. Mm-hmm. And they are fantastic. Unfortunately, they're expensive. The 2-piece kit is $77.
Yeah.
And God forbid you get any of the more of them. Like, they have all kinds of them. They have the long ones and the short ones. The truck one is massive, and that's great for, on the bigger diesels and that kind of stuff. But again, it's a silicone material with something inside of it that lets you fold it, funnel it, and then wipe it off, flatten it out, and put it back in the bottom of the tool tray.
Yeah.
So it's just another one of those tools that I have found to be very, very useful. So, and if you're interested in that kind of stuff, let me know, and I'll continue to look at tools and give you a tool report when I get something new to play with.
Yeah, and that's, again, tools are, well, come on, we all like tools, especially when I put them back on you as you're using them.
Yeah, well, that happens. That happens. What else you got there, Scott?
I pretty much got everything covered, This can be probably a quick show because we got a lot coming up this month, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll give you more on the next show. Again, if you can make it to Jeep Beach, it's a heck of a fun party, and this year should really be, I think, a pretty wild one. And we're going to be there wandering about and on the beach and in the Daytona racetrack, paying a run around there. And let's see, you're staying a little bit up beach, and I'm staying a little bit down beach. So we're in 2 different hotels, but that's okay. That's just kind of the way it works. Mm-hmm. You're going to be right outside the the amphitheater or whatever they call that thing. Yeah, right where the old NASCAR track used to be. Mm-hmm. So that's
where the Ferris wheel used to be.
Well, the Ferris wheel used to be. Yep. So that's going to be pretty good. And like I said, we'll try and have our little handouts available at most times, and keep a stash hidden in the Jeep, and keep a stash at the booth, and keep a stash.
Stash on us at all times, because you never know when someone's going to walk and go, "Hey, you're that guy."
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I've always said that Shane was doing that with a couple of guys. I need the business cards that say A.GUY.
Hey, guy.
Because he always says, "Well, I know a guy." And it's like, yeah, here, I'm a guy.
That's nice. I like that.
Anyhow, folks, we hope that the winter is treating you well. I know a lot of the country has gotten a lot of nasty weather, and in a lot of cases, that means a lot of fun for Jeepers, but it also can mean some work. And it also means that, as our friend pointed out, you find out new creative ways to have to work on your Jeep, like plugged tailpipes. That one's still...
That was funny.
That's fun. That is absolutely fun. I spent quite a few years up in the Pennsylvania, Northern Virginias, West Virginias, Ohio, New York, all the way up into Canada, over on Ontario. And, snow is just part of life. It's just dry rain until you warm it up.
Snow goes from heaven.
So we hope you all are staying warm and, getting where you're going without too much, strife and whatnot. But anyhow,
I think it's time we lock the hub and put the Jeep in 4-low.
I think you're right.
And always remember to take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave the trail, and to tread lightly.
Yeah, please. We want to leave the trails open for our children and our children's children just the way they are today.
Yes, and we expect another exciting episode of On the Trail podcast with Kevin and Scott on the March 15th.
Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March.
I'll have a lot to talk about because I think that's the same weekend I will be at the Florida Trail Team Challenge.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Or are you going? I can't remember if you were going or not.
Mark hasn't asked me.
Oh, fair enough.
We'll see where it goes from there. He may be assuming that we come as a package deal. I don't know.
That might be the same thing, too. Well, now that I made things incredibly awkward with that, don't forget to if you have a questions, comment, or if you want to talk more tool time with Kevin. Oh, I hope I don't own Disney money for that.
No. And the other thing I was going to say, if I'm looking forward to seeing your comments on the leftover parts. What are we going to do with the leftover parts for baby TJ?
Don't sneeze. So with that note, have yourself a wonderful afternoon, and we hope you enjoy this. I'm going to go feed Gunner the trail dog.
As well as edit this and get it up posted.
Yeah, in the next, hopefully, hour.
All right. Bye now. Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.